put them there or under the floor or where?
I want to put them up on the.
I'd like to announce that a quorum is present. The meeting is duly called, and notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. The following board members. Okay. The following board members are in attendance: Tracy Miller, Allison Lasan, Catherine Sells, Dr. Buddy Bonner, Angie Cox, Christy Hassett, Jenny Prosnick. We will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code 551, specifically 551.071, 072, and 074. Time is 6:04 p.m. We'll now reconvene in open session at 7:09 p.m. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge. Welcome to all. In particular, welcome Mr. Patterson, our interim superintendent and search consultant, along with Dr. Rue. We've had 2 parent meetings already on our search, as well as staff meetings and more tomorrow and this week. So we're grateful. It's been an eventful week for Mr. Patterson, and we're grateful to have him at the helm. So welcome to all. The Lewisville ISD Board of Trustees meets monthly to receive reports from staff and take action on recommendations from the superintendent. The board receives an agenda and all supporting documentation 10 days in advance of these regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive many answers to the questions that we have. The board also meets in regularly scheduled workshops and work sessions where staff discussions and presentations are given for many of the agenda items. This protocol means lengthy discussions or a litany of questions on every agenda item is not necessary, and as a board, we should have appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of our meeting tonight. Additionally, while we no longer are limiting the number of staff and community members as in-person attendees, we respectfully ask that you maintain social distancing and other health protocols while attending this evening's board meeting. Furthermore, we ask those in attendance conduct themselves respectfully at all times during the meeting. Any outbursts or disruptive behaviors may result in the removal from the board meeting. Recognition, Superintendent Spotlight. Chief Communications Officer Amanda Brim will now share with us this month's recognition. Student
Flower
Spotlight.
Mound High School girls cross country team recently competed and won the University Interscholastic League 6A cross country meet for the 2nd year in a row. With a combined team score of 41 points, the Lady Jags were led by senior Natalie Cook, who finished first place overall with a 16-minute 32-second time. Sophomore Natalie Humphreys, 4th place with a 17-minute 39-second time. Sophomore Samantha Humphreys, 12th place with an 18-minute 11-second time. Senior Virginia Knight, 17th place with an 18-minute 17-second time. Freshman Alexandra Fox, 20th place with an 18-minute 20-second time. Sophomore Eva Herniak, 68th place with a 19-minute 15-second time. And senior Allison Buemi, 110th place with a 19-minute 49-second time. FMHS Cross Country is led by head coach Andrew Cook and assistant coaches Clint Davidson, Jacob Mills, Melissa Cook, and Michael Horstmeyer. Congratulations, Lady Jags. LISD is proud of you.
Howdy. All right, we're going to go ahead and introduce our team here. First, we have our assistant coach, Coach Clint Davidson. Say hello. He don't want to give a speech, so pull this thing out. All right, I'm not going to comedy routine here. We have senior Virginia Knight. We have senior Natalie Cook. I'm trying to look over here, lazy make stuff. All right, we have sophomore Eva Herniak. We have sophomore Nicole Humphreys. We have sophomore Samantha Humphreys. Our freshman, Alexandra Fox, and our senior, Allison Buemi. So, okay. Thank you very much. Oh, and our parents, please stand if you're in the room, please. So, some are already standing taking photos. So.
Marcus High School head tennis coach Kelly Langdon was recently awarded the
We'll do a more formal recognition in January, but this is a good one.
Oh, well, I don't want to embarrass her. Okay. Yeah, they want to have Natalie come out. So there you go. Okay, this is always kind of awkward. So, but this is my daughter, Natalie Cook. So this year she was the state champion for 6A. They've also been having, for the last 40 years, they have a national championship race where they take the top 40 girls and boys in the country, and they all go to San Diego and compete. No athlete from Texas has ever won that race. And this year, Natalie did win it, and she was the national champion. So. There you go. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Marcus High School head tennis coach Kelly Langdon was recently awarded the Outstanding Leader in the Texas Veterans of Foreign War Award for his numerous contributions in the community. Not only is Coach Langdon an award-winning and highly respected tennis coach across the state, but in his little free time, he spearheads a number of efforts to support the troops and Texas veterans. He's also an ambassador for Texas Tennis Thanks the Troops, an organization that provides scholarships to families of veterans to further their post-high school education. Congratulations, Coach Langdon. LISD appreciates your support and dedication to giving back to the community.
Good evening. My name is Will Skelton. I'm principal at Marcus High School, and it's my honor to introduce Coach Langdon to you tonight. Just a couple words. I'm the third luckiest principal to be able to work with Coach Langdon. I was fortunate to inherit so many wonderful head coaches for so many of our programs, from Mr. Schaefman, who's the principal before me, and then Dr. Rogers, who was the principal before him. But Coach Langdon represents the very best of what we do in public education. He's a great coach, obviously, and he's been named High School Coach of the Year by just about every type of organization that can do that. But what he also does, on top of that, he's such a great role model for our students through all of the service that he provides in our community and for our veterans. So I'm very, very proud to have Coach Langdon as our head coach at Marcus.
Persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out a speaker's card. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. We have 6 speakers. The first speaker is Rhonda Hurst, 604 Selmeyer Lane, Highland Village.
There we go. Okay, my name is Rhonda Hurst. I'm the Vice Chair of Moms for Liberty. We're an organization of parents, grandparents, teachers, and community members that hold schools accountable, including data mining of our students. I've lived in the district since I was 2 and went through the LISD system. I volunteered for the district on committees, including the District Advisory Committee, at career days and summer programs since the early 2000s, and currently working with the TEA for a new CTE program. For the past 8 years, I've communicated with the district because I want my children to go to LASD schools if they meet their gifted and talented needs. The district and board members repeatedly tell me to keep my children in private school if we can afford it. If not, we got a list of robust GT programs and magnet schools in other districts. The district said the lack of strong and robust GT is finances. Special education and English as a second language students get a higher multiplier for the government funds than GT students. I checked, and it's true. The district clearly has made it clear they have no intention to listen to anyone that does not have a child in LASD when selecting the new superintendent. Not new parents, voters, or taxpayers, including grandparents, volunteers for organizations that help LASD students, donors that support LASD students, and business owners that provide internships for students and jobs for LASD grads. The people only matter for re-election and passing bonds. Taxation without representation. We fought a war over the exact issue. The district states enrollment is declining because the population of 5 to 18-year-olds is declining. This is not what the census says for LASD. Parents are leaving because they are choosing freedom and classic education instead of state indoctrination. Homeschooling has increased from 5 to 11% in the past 3 years. Founders in Flower Mound has a wait list, and innovative pod and micro schools are popping up all over. The district tell faculty that speakers are unruly, outspoken, and rude. But that's not what the tapes show. Board members repeatedly break quorum and publicly admonish the speakers, calling them unintelligent, among other insulting names in meetings. This is what the tapes show. The district's telling teachers in meetings that the teachers are directly under siege by people like me speaking at board meetings and even trying to gaslight us. Board members have told district faculty that everything the speakers have said is false, not based in fact, and complete nonsense. The district's only response continues to be a different iterations of because we said so. No information proving the speakers are incorrect has been shared. The district has not formally reached out to discuss any topic, even though they have our names, addresses, and emails. We have asked for information on rhythm apps and this shack info, and all we get are letters from the legal team wanting more than $25,000 just for the information. That should be readily available. Why is it so hard to get the truth? Makes you wonder what else the district is hiding. Thank you.
Thank you, and to be clear, we have community meetings that allow input from anybody in the community. They've been taking place, and there's a survey that I know people in my demographic with no kids in the district now have been taking, so there's plenty of opportunities for parents of all or taxpayers to participate. And the website is available. You can go to the website. Pamela Cully, 3520 Vanguard Drive, Frisco.
First, I would like to state that I have never come to a school board meeting and spoken a single negative personal comment toward any board member. The only statement I have ever made at a board meeting towards the individual board members has been to simply ask that you all do better. In return, a board member has stated publicly during the board meetings that those of us speaking against the Rhythm app are socially and emotionally unintelligent. He has implied that we are not educated on the subject matter and that we are spreading misinformation. This cannot be further from the truth. There has been snickering and note passing by board members when us as in-district parents speak about our concerns with the Rhythm app. There was also an outburst from a board member making statements about our assumed political party choice and then stating his political affiliation and making it known that he is essentially better than us. I have never stated my political party or choice at any of these meetings, and I don't appreciate a board member stating an assumption about me. He has also taken it upon himself to inform teachers that the board is essentially under attack by the few parents that speak at our board meetings. There has also been misinformation being spread that we as parents are not in-district parents. We are all in-district parents, some of us still with children in the schools. I pulled my last one from your school in October of 2021. Why? Because decisions this board has made without consulting parents, because I don't feel confident that my children are in safe hands in LASD, and this is why I come and speak. By not having my children in your care, you can't retaliate against them if you don't like my views. LASD is not just a place where my tax dollars go, but it's where my students should be attending school. The board has stated several times that my views are not worth much now that I don't have children in the school. Is that not taxation without representation, as previously stated? In closing, I stand by the research of several doctors, parents, civil rights leaders, legislators, and news outlets that have proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Rhythm is illegally collecting psychosocial, psychological data on the children of LASD. I urge all parents to read the article in the Texas Scorecard about Rhythm, do your own research, and reach out to myself or other parents in this room if you want to learn more about what is being done to your children. Thank you.
Thank you. I would remind the audience to look at our master data agreement, which is a separate agreement than that provided by the vendor. Seneca Martin, 7604 Emerson Lane, Flower Mound.
Seneca Martin, 7604 Emerson Lane, Flower Mound, Texas. Chapter Chair for Moms for Liberty, Denton County. TASB is on your agenda tonight. I'd just like to point out that TASB is in favor of funding the NSBA. The NSBA has called parents domestic terrorists. They did send out an apology. It is an apology that if my children bought to me, and the country agrees with me, would be laughed at, sent back, and told, try again. So we are asking if you, as other Texas legislators are asking districts right now, if you would consider not funding the NSBA. I want to point out that Rhythm is still illegal, no matter how many times you send us letters that say everything that we have pointed out is patently wrong. You have not given us any proof. You had just said we are patently wrong. I don't know what that means. Would you please explain that? Also, there are focus groups going on tonight for finding a new superintendent. I had absolutely no idea that this was going on. Apparently there was one on December 9th as well. I had absolutely no idea that that was going on. There are a few others in the month of December. I would ask that you please postpone this to after the holidays when people can actually focus on this. If you ever wanted to slip something in without the public and the community knowing about it, it would be by doing it in the month of December. We don't have the focus for it. I had no idea it was happening. I searched my emails. I searched my junk mail. I got no notification that this was going on tonight. We are very interested in the search for our superintendent, our next superintendent. We would like to be part of those focus groups, and we had no idea it was going on tonight. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily Malden, 3604 Wise Lane, Flower Mound.
Opportunity to speak with y'all tonight. I have been in touch with y'all prior and emailed a couple of documents to y'all, but I am here representing my own family, several other parents, about 50 individuals who've signed our petition. Can y'all hear? Okay, sorry about that. So we are sponsoring a petition coming on behalf of myself and about 50 other people who have signed the petition. We're hoping to have y'all consider, the district consider, putting the advanced Spanish language program at McCamey Middle School. I'm here with my son, Wesley Malden. He'll talk to you guys in a second. So we have three main reasons for requesting this: peer relationships, community ties, and increased participation in the program. The peer relationships part is that many of the students who are zoned to McCamey have to sort of make a choice at middle school whether or not to go to their neighborhood school or continue in Spanish. We don't have an option to do both. So we think that that would be really nice to have that for our students to be able to stay at school with their friends and neighbors and still be able to advance their Spanish skills that they've worked so hard to obtain. The second one is community ties. Many of our families already have significant ties to McCamey Middle School, and so allowing us the option of sending our Spanish immersion kids from Wellington Elementary to McCamey Middle School would make it really nice for us to kind of continue to invest in our local community school. And then finally, we, through conversations we've had in our own family, that arrangement of having the advanced Spanish language program at McCamey would allow us to continue in the program where we feel like we have to choose whether to go to our middle school where our other children have gone or continue in the program. So we would really appreciate having that opportunity. As I said, there's about 51 individuals who signed the petition, and I emailed that to you guys, but if you need that again, I'm happy to resend that. It represents about 31 families. So we think, y'all know the numbers. I don't know all of that, but it seems to me like a great number to have a good solid class at McCamey, or two maybe, but not pull from the other programs and keep them strong. So we hope that you'll consider our petition, and thank you so much for letting us chat with y'all tonight. I'm going to hang with Wesley so he's not standing up here by himself, but I think he's next.
Hi, Wesley.
Hi.
You can restart the clock.
This is my son, Wesley Malden. Like I said, he's a fifth grader at Wellington Elementary School. He's in the Spanish immersion program, and he just wanted to give you a couple of reasons that he would like to see the Spanish classes at McCamey Middle.
My first reason is lots of my friends want to stay in the Spanish immersion program, and they still want to be able to keep in touch with me easily. But their parents, they want them to go in Spanish immersion, so it'd be nice if they could still go to the same middle school. And you can get high school credit, which I'm interested in. So, and I'm zoned because I can just walk there. So, yeah. Any questions?
No, thank you, Wesley. Thanks for coming up. Vincent Gallo, 3201 Walnut Grove Place, Flower Mound.
Good evening, folks. My name is Vincent Gallo. I live at 3201 Walnut Grove Place in Flower Mound, Texas. I've lived in Flower Mound for a long time. My children attended the school district here at Flower Mound High School and some of the middle schools. They received a good education at those facilities. So I appreciate the hard work of the teachers that worked at those schools, and I also appreciate the fact that you all are up here doing the job that you're doing. I'm running for United States Congress in the 26th District of Texas, and I'm here basically to just ask some basic questions because I'm on a fact-finding mission now based on some concerns that were provided to me by some citizens that live in the town of Flower Mound. And the issue is this social emotional learning concept and this app that keeps coming up, this rhythm app that keeps coming up. And their concerns are that there's data being discussed or collected by people, and I don't know the answer to these questions. So what I'm asking for is whether or not there's a way to clarify this publicly, that people are on the record. I don't know if you can do this. I don't know if you can do it at a school board meeting, to have a public briefing where you have an expert that comes in here and lays this out for the public in general, and that you all can go on the record to establish whether or not you support or you agree with what's being done by these data collectors and what the purpose of that data collection is. I've had several people express some concerns about the nature of the interaction between public school board officials and the public, and that goes to the issue of government officials and the interaction with the public. And unfortunately, my experience has been over the past several years that there seems to be an adversarial relationship that is being developed, and people that are in positions of power and authority seem to feel like they have the ability to dismiss the concerns of the people and the public in general. And that is not acceptable. And I would ask that that not occur from the people that we work hard to pay tax dollars to support. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. We're going to move on to consent items. Are there any items that want to be pulled for, or would someone like to make a motion? I'm sorry? That's covered, yeah. Does anybody want something to pull? Ms. Cox?
I would like to pull 1B.
Anybody else? Okay, do I have a motion? Ms. Sells?
Yes. I move that the board approve the consent agenda items as recommended by administration, with the exception of the following items pulled for separate consideration. Item 1B. G1B.
Second. Dr. Bonner? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Ms. Cox? Go ahead. Would you like to make the motion? Oh. You wanted it pulled?
I'll move it.
Okay.
I move that the board approve consent agenda item G1B as recommended by administration.
A second. Ms. Lasan? Any discussion?
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to have a little more discussion from our workshop regarding the cost and how we are going to, the company was guaranteeing to have a certain level of staff, and I'm just going to address again my concern of quality of staff that brings to our district. I mean, as a board member, I want a quality substitute. I want a quality teacher that is going to be here in our district to teach our children. I'm a little concerned that this company, who represents several other districts locally, can guarantee substitutes and not just, put people in the seat to fill that position.
So I would just reiterate, and we talked again even after our workshop with Fred, we still maintain control of all of the parameters and all of the criteria, including the salary process, but in our training, but also the criteria that we set for our staff. So while, yes, we have put in a guaranteed fill rate for them to maintain, we also will be able to manage the quality of employees that we're hiring.
I had a follow-up question too. Some of the campuses are quite low. So how are we going to fill them when we get the substitutes from the staffing agency? How will they be prioritized?
You mean based on campuses?
Based on campuses that have very little staffing and a tremendous need.
So the approach will be twofold. One will be a meeting with us so that they want to know what our expectation is. And if we want to set an expectation where we identify our lowest, as I sent to you all in the workshop, where we identify our lowest campuses and prioritize those needs, we can certainly do that. those are all discussions that we'll have moving forward, because ultimately they want to roll out a system that meets our needs. And so we will have the ability to have a discussion as to whether we focus in on the campuses with the lowest fill rates as a priority, or if we focus in on days of the week as a priority, or both of those things.
And the 85% fill rate is average district-wide?
Yes.
So the ones who are low, who are causing issue with the district-wide average will be taken into consideration?
Yes, that is a district average.
So I'm going to be really hard-pressed to approve this because, one, it's a hefty expense, and two, I'm just a little concerned about the quality of people we're going to get in our staff. And I do love a lot of the benefits that they have here with weekly pay benefits. But if we're going to spend this kind of money, I'd rather hire more teachers to serve in our district, the teachers that we were needing to hire that we're down on. So those are my 2 cents.
Dr. Bonner.
Ms. Cox, thank you for bringing up the cost a couple of times. Mr. Youngs, could you just go over, I know you addressed it during the week in correspondence with the board, but go over where the funding for this item is coming from?
Sure. Because we have a hiring vacancies, we can take that salary of unspent money this year, put it into fund balance, roll forward. There's also funds available, obviously, for substitutes that we're not hiring. You put those two together, and this thing is almost self-funding.
For this year, for the 1-year contract that's being requested?
We would do an 8-month contract from the start of next year through August to kind of take a test drive. And then we have the renewal option each year going forward, but eventually those little pools of money go away,
right,
and we'll have to fund this, but we have that option every year whether we want to renew or not.
Thank you.
Ms. Brosnick.
Okay, so you answered part of my question I was going to ask, which is about the contract length. So the contract is not for a year then, the contract is just for the 8 months.
We have talked to them and they have agreed to those terms for an 8-month start, and then each corresponding new year would be a 12 regular school year.
So we would need to renew it in August
of this year.
Of this coming, of 2020, 2022. And then I also want to reiterate that this will not affect our full-time subs that we already have on our campuses.
That is correct.
Yes, we have permanent subs on every campus. Those are employees with the district, and they are in no way impacted by this.
Sells?
Yes, Ms. Smith, can you take us through who supervises right now substitutes on campuses? And is there any way during this period of time that we're transitioning, if we do approve this tonight, that we can either increase the method of communication on that supervision to make us all more clear and more comfortable with those that are on our campuses hired through this firm? I don't know if that might alleviate. And I had the question too. I'm not comfortable doing the 1 year that they proposed initially, because that puts us mid-year and can put us in a bind. But if they are willing to negotiate just through where we can re-up or not for next year, then I'm more for this.
And they were, and then that gets us on a calendar year. So if we
Right.
were to move forward, we're on a school calendar year, which is beneficial for us.
Right.
Currently, substitutes are managed from my department. And so a campus oversees, like if there are attendance issues or personnel issues, some type of disruption in a classroom, those type of things, a campus administrator will meet with that person, but those ultimately come back into my department for a director and my department to meet with. If we move forward, they have 3 full-time employees designated for this work, as well as a lot of office support people designated to help. So Melissa and I would be made aware and certainly be informed of any personnel matters, but we wouldn't be the ones having the meetings with the substitute anymore, because they wouldn't be our employee. But we would still be the liaison, so to speak, between the campus, the substitute, and the company.
Ms. Lasan.
My comment, I guess, is that I'm absolutely for this. Part of the reason is as far as the quality of subs, I think that, that could be a concern, but I trust, you guys, and, to me, this company hasn't done anything thus far to make us think otherwise. So I think other districts are using them very satisfactorily, and I don't know why that would be any different for us. The other comment I just want to make is, so I was at one of my child's campuses this week, or what day is it? Anyway, very recently, and at a meeting, and just speaking to some of the campus. And this is a campus that you would probably call one of the easier filled, campuses, and they still had 7 slots that they were not able to fill. I believe that to help teacher morale, admin morale, this is something that we have got to do. I mean, right now our fill rate is 57%.
Yes.
That is so low, and it's not for lack of effort, right? I mean, it's the economy right now. It's just the world that we're in. We have got to do something, and to me, I think that this is it. And I am also glad to hear it's 8 months. I think that's wonderful, and we can revisit it and see how it goes for next year.
Thank you for the comments. Just for the edification of the audience, the problem we're dealing with here is that we have a significant number of teachers leaving the profession prior to their contracts being up, just because of a lot of complexities in teaching. And so our fill rate for substitutes is at 57%. And we're used to running at 80, 90%. And so while Ms. Cox is right, we'd prefer to put the money in teachers. It would fund about 60 teachers. We're just having a hard time finding teachers, especially mid-year when they're under Chapter 21 contracts. And so I'm grateful that you all negotiated an 8-month term to get us through this year, kind of see where we're at, and we can rethink it for the coming months, and then trust that from a quality perspective that you all will have an effective screening process with the SS to make sure that we get the right people in our classrooms.
I do want to reiterate, doing this does not preclude us from hiring the teachers that we need in the classroom. That is still the focus of your department.
That is our number one focus, is hiring teachers.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Information items, demographic update, Q3, Dr. Rapp.
Yes, thank you, President Miller. I'm going to ask Rocky Gardner to come up to the podium, and I just want to say publicly thank you to Jeff Kosh as well for working with Rocky on the demographic update that you'll see this evening. Rocky, we're glad you're here and look forward to hearing from you tonight.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. President Miller, Interim Superintendent Patterson, welcome. Members of the board, it's fun to be back in Lewisville. I'll always like coming in person is always better than, maybe not for you guys getting to see me, but for me getting to be here, it's kind of nice. I'm going to go through this fairly quick, but we can stop and talk as usual about anything that you might want to. I want to touch first on your enrollment this year. This year's enrollment, we projected a pretty strong COVID bounce back, and you guys did bounce back. We didn't quite hit my number. I think my number was right at 50,000, and you guys are 49.7 at snapshot date, so we're inside that ratio I like to be, but really the pre-K numbers didn't, they came in pretty strong, but we had a couple class sizes that just didn't come in as strong as we'd hoped. But keep in mind, even though you see a negative number there, when your 12th grade class is 1,000 students bigger than your kindergarten class, you're losing 1,000 students just through attrition. So we still grew like 900 students last year. It's just that it kind of looks it doesn't look as fun as you'd like it to, I think, to see that positive growth. Just wanted to mention that. Right now, Lewisville is starting 1,134 homes, so strong starts, 936 annual closings. But what's interesting there is your inventory, 906 homes in inventory. So you've got almost as many homes in inventory as you closed all of last year. Keep in mind, inventory are homes that are under construction or finished vacant. That inventory number has creeped up a little bit the last year or so, and that's really just the time it's taking to build a home has been extended because of COVID. Labor shortages are real, and they're everywhere. And also, it's not easy to get the parts, I don't know for a house if you call it parts, but supplies. Let's price supplies. The 359 closings that we saw in the third quarter, the strong closing quarter, you'll probably finish the year right around 1,200 closings, so similar to where you were 2 years ago. Your starts will probably finish under 1,000. Your closings will probably finish under 1,000 this year. Again, those 900 that are out there are going to be full. Those homes are going to be complete and have students, maybe not students, but families living in them by the time school starts next year. So I think we're going to have a strong year of closings. They're just kind of moving your way. If we look at the distribution of closings, it's a little bit spread out, but we still see stuff out on the toll road out there with the Castle Hills North Point is always out there, and they're doing very well. We've got a couple developments, of course, down the lakeside area. The closings on this map kind of give you an idea where growth occurred or where more student growth would have occurred, because that's happened. Someone's moved into the closings. VDL, if we look at the VDL distribution, remember these are vacant developed lots, so they're lots ready to be built on right now. This is where your next round of growth is going to come from, those vacant developed lots. The good news is there's 1,100 VDL just in those 10 developments that we show on that page. So that next round of development, we still have strong lot supply, which that's been a challenge in some areas, getting lots delivered. So when you're wanting to stay on pace for that 900 to 1,200 homes per year, you've got to have lots there being delivered, and we are seeing some good lot activity. And, of course, we still have future activity. We've got 1,400 futures just in these 10. I think we've got a total of 2,700 futures in Lewisville. So those are going to come. They're starting to do some activity on some of those. They're moving dirt, and that's what we want them to do. We want them to start moving dirt so those futures become vacant developed lots. That's kind of the idea there. And this next chart here is it's a simple way to summarize what's going on in the areas. These are your elementary zones. The best way, I think, to use this chart is where you see color is where you see activity. Excuse me. So yellow is the highest amount of activity, followed by green, and then I think that's a salmon color that we picked there for that third. So you see the most of the activity continues to be in Memorial. The Blue Bonnet Zone, we've seen that activity down there in that lakeside area for a while, some strong activity there. But again, I think what I like to keep an eye on is that 841 homes are under construction. That was the end of the third quarter. So those homes, and the other, there's just a few. Then you got about 60 homes that are finished but vacant. So those 900 homes are now being finished. And many of them are probably finished during this fourth quarter. And you're going to start seeing move-ins. And then after Christmas, throughout the spring, you're going to see some strong move-in, I think, as those get done. And then you've got another 300 homes that started, 300 plus. Those will also finish this year. So I kind of look at your inventory plus your quarter starts as being what next year is going to look like, leading into next fall. That kind of gives you a 12-month look, which puts you right around 1,200 closings next year. I think that's a pretty solid number. We look at where, just spread out the activity that we're tracking. So 56 actively building subdivisions, so of all sizes are right now. And that third bullet there, of course, you've got 29 future subdivisions. Those are in yellow. That third bullet there is where we talk about lots being delivered. So the little red outlines that you see on there, that's where we've found lots where there's dirt moving. So they're working on the next round of vacant lots that'll be delivered. And that's always good to see, because that's what's going to bring in your growth in years 2, 3, moving forward. So we always like to see groundwork underway. With that, the projection. So next year, we're forecasting, again, there's a little negative growth there. We're kind of getting, last year was positive, of course, but that was the COVID bounce back. So now we're kind of getting back to the trend that I was showing pretty much back in 1819 to 1920, kind of back on that trend. We are seeing negative growth, but that's all attrition. When you're adding 1,000 homes, you should be getting about 600 students, and that really is what real growth we're seeing. We're seeing 600 to 900 new students each year. We're just not, because of the size of those classes, it's just not being realized. Kindergarten, the decline in kindergarten enrollment is real. The birth rates have decreased for several years in a row, so now we're feeling that. I mean, that's statewide. We were down, I think, in 2020, 10,000 less births than the previous year. So that's going to be felt in 5 years. So that's a real thing that's happening. So your kindergarten class being a little smaller down, those 1,400, I think around 1,400. I'm sorry, 3,400. When you stay down around 3,400 kindergarten students, it's hard to, you're not going to see positive growth until those classes work their way through. And now eventually your 12th grade classes are going to get a little bit smaller. But as they come together, then you're going to start seeing that turn to positive growth. That was probably more than you guys cared to hear right there. But again, we've got the slides that we always put in for each individual campus enrollment forecast. I think Blue Bont's the only one that we have some challenges at. We've looked at some opportunities there. And then we do have a couple other elementary zones in this next page where we do have we're getting close to capacity there at South Ridge. I might also mention that I know we've been discussing some boundary opportunities for you guys. This does not include anything we don't change our projections until anything's been approved by this board. So if you guys approve some boundary changes, then the quarter following that, we'll smooth that out to make those, we'll update those at that time. The middle schools look pretty good right now, and I think with the exception of Flower Mound High School, 9th grade center there, I think your high schools are looking pretty good as well. Let's see. That's it. So, 308 students this fall for a 0.6 growth rate, but it was positive. We turned the corner a little bit, brought some of those students back. Very large cohorts at kindergarten and first grade, and that was good to see that kindergarten bounce back. And I think next year we'll see another first grade bounce back. I think there were still a few parents that were leery. They didn't have to bring their students in for kindergarten, so they just didn't. And I think you'll see a high first grade cohort again next year. 56 actively building subdivisions, 26 future subdivisions. So as much as a lot of people think that when people think of Lewisville, they might think you're reaching build out, but I think we got 4 or 5 years of really some pretty strong 800 to 1,200 homes per year. You can expect 48,300 students. I'd like to get us back to 49,000, and you never know. It's going to be kind of picking up some of those kindergarten classes. With that, I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Rocky.
Yes, sir.
Bonner, any questions down here?
No questions. Thank you.
You're going to escape with no questions, Rocky.
It doesn't happen very often, but thank you very much.
You're right. It doesn't happen very often. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Happy holidays. Lewisville Education Foundation, Ms. Brim.
We are excited to have Mr. Tommy White here tonight to talk to us about the great things happening in the LEF.
Thank you. Thank you, board members, for having me tonight. In the spirit of too much information, I thought I would share considerable numbers tonight. Traditionally, am I using this one? Amanda, you got me? Traditionally, I like to stand up here and just let you know how much money we've raised and how much money we've awarded. But in the spirit of just full transparency, what I wanted to do tonight is just provide a little bit more context for those numbers. I did highlight them up here in this slide, what we raised from our Evening for Ed, our LEF Golf Classic, and also the Collin Island Golf Tournament, which is a joint fundraiser between us and Denton Public Schools. That number was about $228,633, what we raised. And also I really want to applaud our faculty and our staff. Our employee giving campaign this year raised about $103,419. And that's a projected increase of about $37,000 over last year. So definitely teachers and staff went above and beyond what they generally do. I wanted to put those numbers in context, though, just to not to oversimplify the relationship between the foundation and the district, and to provide a broader picture of how we support the district. To date, year to date, and these numbers were run early December, we have raised about a little over $1 million. The vast majority of that, $627,000 of it, is in restricted contributions, simply meaning a donor said, I want my dollar to go here, and we are obliging that and moving forward with that. We also have about $50,000 in unrestricted contributions. So that just goes to show you the ratio of the support that we provide the district and the money that we can actually use for operations and unrestricted. That unrestricted figure also is a rainy day fund, so in case we do experience a shortfall in scholarship funding or grant funding, we can dip into that bucket as well. If you look at our expenses for year to date, that tells you right there the vast majority of that $1 million has already left the building or is claimed for scholarships and grants. We have about $378,324 that has been claimed in scholarships and grants. We're currently carrying close to $100,000 in unclaimed, which simply means we allow students a full year to claim their scholarship. So when they don't, we hold on to it as long as we can. And I'm happy to report, traditionally, we usually end the year with about maybe 3 or 4, a bad year 5 kids that don't claim their scholarships. So that $93,000 will drop down to about $1,500 by the end of the year. We really pride ourselves in making sure the kids are getting the dollars that they are promised. Likewise, with LISD programs, in 2019, we provided about $70,000 to the district in these programs, what we call pass-throughs, which again is when a donor comes in and says, I want to support the district this way, we make it happen. 99% of that was for back-to-school fair in 2019. This year, thanks to the great work of Dr. Rapp and her relationship with the Ralph Foundation, that number increased dramatically with the gift to the STEM truck. So right now we're carrying about $172,000 in unclaimed money for LISD programs, 150 of which is earmarked for the STEM truck. And just by way of comparison, our 2020 audited financials are up there. We are a revenue of close to 1.4. Again, and this is a number that I'm really proud of, about 1.1 of that, 84%, was in restricted contributions, and the rest in unrestricted. This is definitely our closest comparison we have to the 80-20 ratio for nonprofits. It's a little difficult for us when someone establishes an endowment and we only use 5% of it for the award. So that really throws off that 80-20 ratio. But for the year of 2020, we were 84-16. So really happy that vast majority of the dollars that walk through our door leave it just as quickly and get to where it's needed, either scholarships, grants, or fellowships. So, and just a side note in there too, you can see our administrative fees are in the 4 digits, right? Not the 6 or 7 digits. So we definitely pride ourselves in making sure that any sort of fee for a scholarship or anything is not an impediment to donors. We take care of the majority of those costs that are associated with processing the gifts, credit card fees, those types of things. So just in the spirit of transparency, like I said, I wanted to provide you guys with a lot more information than I normally do to highlight the great work that we are doing. Lastly, of course, the big reason, some very important dates that we're currently in the middle of. Our scholarship application has opened. We are seeing a little bit of a decline in applications, so I certainly want to encourage any senior who's out there, please visit our website and apply. We typically have about 1,100 applications per year, and I think we are well under half of that at the moment. So we have a few more weeks. January 7th, that scholarship application closes, but I want to encourage every senior out there, please apply, and every parent of a senior to make their student apply. On the flip side of that, we have scholarship readers. We have a need for that right now. Last report I saw, we've recruited about 164 readers to go through that application reading process. We typically like to recruit about 300 volunteers just to make easy work for everybody. That deadline to sign up is quickly approaching. We like to have that process set up by the first of the year, but since we need a few more, we've extended that out to January 18th. So if anybody out there in the district would like to read applications, please go to our website and do so. And we are, of course, looking forward to an in-person scholarship ceremony this year. We didn't have one 2 years ago, virtually last year, and we're shooting for an in-person ceremony. That will be April 19th. So scholarship winners will be notified that first week of April, and then we will have a ceremony on the 19th. And then lastly, our teacher grant application should open about February-March timeframe, and that usually closes the last day of the semester. So all teachers with great ideas, please apply. We have plenty of grant money that we want to share with the district. So at the risk of asking, anybody have questions?
Thank you, Dr. White. Any questions? Ms. Hassett?
Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for everything that you do for our students and staff. We greatly appreciate it. But I'd love the extra information this time. This was really awesome. Unclaimed scholarships. So how many that might potentially, is that going to increase this year potentially because of COVID? What can y'all do as a foundation? What can we do to help? You know, sometimes some of these students might have now not been able to attend college. What can we do to connect these students with resources so that they have that option?
Certainly, a lot of that will fall to donor intent, so we can either carry over a scholarship to the following year. I will say we have seen a slight increase in returned scholarship monies. We do not send scholarship dollars to students directly. We send them to bursar's office at the university once they enroll. And we've had a few colleges return the money and say these students simply aren't enrolling or haven't enrolled. In that case, we revert back to donor intent and contact the donor and say, would you like us to carry this forward? Would you like us to continue to encourage the student to enroll and then provide that money later? And 9 times out of 10, the donor says, yes, please continue to support that student. Oftentimes, if a student, say, originally enrolls in a university, then maybe goes to a vocational or a technical college, we simply ask the donor, is that within your intent to support? Like I said, our programs and outcomes coordinator is incredibly determined to get all of those dollars and the student funds. And to date, if we've had 10 in 1 year, I'd be shocked. It's typically 3 to 4. So we do everything we can to provide that money and continue to support those students.
Thank you, Dr. White. As Ms. Hassett said, we appreciate all the work that LEF provides for our school district, our teachers, our kids. Great opportunities. My question is, do y'all have earmarked how much you're going to give for scholarships?
Yeah, that number, part of it is static and part of it fluctuates. So a big chunk of the money, we're usually in about the $250,000 range, give or take 10 or 15,000. Half of that money, actually probably about a third of that money is endowed scholarships, so that money will always be there. The other 2/3 to half are what we call one-time use. So PTAs, booster clubs, or even donors who simply want to give a scholarship for 1 year, provide that dollar amount, and that's what fluctuates. So that's what really changes. If you look at the history of our scholarships over the past 5 years, like I said, it might fluctuate $10,000 to $15,000. But over the last 5 years, it's increased. I think $250,000 is a conservative number for what we'll give out this year.
Oh, on another note, as a mom having 3 kids now in college, it's very painful, so every dollar does count. So could you maybe we have people sitting out here where it's posted that they could get information on the scholarship? Should they know a student and share it on social media or somewhere? Where could they find that application?
Absolutely. LSDEF.com, so Lewisville Independent School District Education Foundation.com/scholarships. That's the easiest URL to follow. Of course, you can follow us on social media, and we'll post that application everywhere we can. So, and we do have a new service this year. We can actually text students who have provided their phone numbers. So a lot of times we get students who draft an application but don't submit, and we contact them immediately and say, hey, deadline's closing, please submit. So we do everything we can. We approached principals last week to send out a Skyward alert to all students, and most have obliged. So we try to scream it as loud as we can, but LISDEF.com/scholarships.
Yes, just a quick note on the unclaimed. I've spoken with Shara about it, and so they have until, it's usually May 31st.
They have a full year.
So they have the full year to claim, but about the 1st of May, we start looking at those lists, and even last year I sent out some text, and kids had just forgotten and had not opened emails. And so then I text the parents and said, hey, do you know so-and-so has, an outstanding scholarship? And so I'm positive that 3 or 4 of those actually did go ahead and claim those. But, you know how hectic it is. These had gone out of state to college, and it just gotten lost in the shuffle. And so I wanted to applaud Shara and her efforts. She makes phone calls, she sends emails, and then she gets some of us involved if they're from our schools that our students have gone to. And so every effort is made to find out the reasons for those students. Also, the Sign Up Readers is at the same place, and I have been fortunate enough to be a reader for some time now, and I can tell you it's some of my best spent time is reading those scholarships applications and the stories of our students. You see their lives unfold sometimes and their aspirations, and I can't tell you anything better that I spend my time on. The reading is between January 18th and February 6th, but that website, again, is where you can sign up to be a reader, and you don't really have to know what you're doing to go into it, because I remember the first year I did it, there's training involved, and so they will walk you through, and at any time you can reach out to LEF staff if you have a question, which I did one year. I read something that I had a question about. It kind of troubled me, and so I reached out to Mr. White, and he was very it was taken care of, and I felt confident that it was taken care of. And so then the other thing is STEM Truck Yay. Do we have a timeline?
We are, go ahead, Dr. Rapp, if you'd like.
I will absolutely defer to you and Ms. Gall on the Wonder Wagons. Hopeful arrival soon. I mean, I think it was still caught up in supply chain issues, but yeah, please update them. Okay.
Yeah, last I spoke to Mr. Martin over at Sampac 5-Star Ford, the order has been literally placed at the plant in Dearborn, Michigan, and we're simply waiting for them to fulfill it and send it to us. So it's been an arduous process for sure, but I'm supposed to be getting updates every Friday when the new shipment rolls into the lot. So
great, and I'm looking forward to an update that it's here and an update of a tour of it. So,
absolutely,
okay.
yeah.
Thank
and
you.
I will reiterate too, if when you read scholarships, you will restore your faith in humanity. When
Absolutely.
Everybody says tomorrow or today's youth is whatever. When you read those, you'll realize that we have some amazing students in the school district.
Absolutely.
I would reiterate, it's a very small way to be part of a student's story in reading those.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? All right, Dr. White, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bilingual ESL update, Dr. Rapp.
Yes, Mr. President, Board of Trustees, it's December, which means it's time for our annual bilingual ESL update. Ms. Gall is going to introduce the team that will be speaking to you tonight.
Right. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much, President Miller and Gary Patterson. It's nice to see you here tonight. I'm going to introduce you to two of our leaders from our bilingual ESL program. Danielle Emery is one of our secondary ESL coordinators, and Esther Montanez oversees our bilingual ESL programs for our elementary students. And as is customary, we have some things to go through with you tonight to give you an update on our program that serves our bilingual students and our ESL students, and an update on those things from program participation to our state comparisons, as well as an update on our models, participations, waivers, and exceptions for our teachers. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Good evening. A couple of changes to some language that you might start seeing in the district. Texas passed a bill that replaced the term limited English proficient with the term emergent bilingual. The U.S. Department still uses English learner and LEP in a lot of their documents, but we will be transitioning our language within the district to the emergent bilingual to really celebrate the bilingualism that our students are bringing with them and that they are learning in our classrooms. So in the term of EB, our EB enrollment from 2000 to 2021 is pretty interesting. That's a long time to look at this, but we're currently at just over 19% EB in the district, and just 20 years ago, it was only 5% of our total LEP enrollment. And so our EB enrollment has continued to grow continuously over that last 20 years. Compared to the state, we are at 19.3% of all of our students are being served in a language program. The state has about 20%, so we're right there with them. However, some differences. Oh, did I go too far? No, I did not. This is the breakdown of where they are in each of the grade levels. So 19% spread out across all of the grade levels. This is what that looks like. Last year's graph, we still had some low numbers in those early grades, but they're catching up now. Our languages across the state, there are 120 languages. 90% of EBs across the state are Spanish speakers. Our numbers are a little bit different in this district. We have 72% of our students that are Spanish speaking. And then the rest comprise a total of 68 languages that are served by our language programs. We have an additional set of languages, about 18 languages, where there's only 1 or 2 kids that speak that language, and they're not served in ESL or bilingual programs because they're already fluent in English. So out of all of our students, it is a lower number that are Spanish speaking as opposed to the state. And likewise, our enrollment percentage that is in the dual language program is also lower than what is served in ESL. So the ESL program serves all of our students that would not be served in the dual language program. A celebration for us is that we have significantly lower refusal rate than the state level. So we are less than half the refusal rate that the other districts across the state are experiencing. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper into that dual language portion right there with Esther Montanez. So I'm going to hand it over to her.
Good evening. Our students that have been served in the dual language program in 2019 received services in the dual language two-way and one-way. In 2020, due to COVID, we had to provide the transitional program for students in the virtual program that were EBs in order to meet their needs. And we have come back to the 2 programs that we usually provide, which is the dual language immersion one-way and the dual language immersion two-way. We have experienced a decrease of 6% between 2020 and 2021. And this year, 21-22, still at a 3% decrease, but we're moving forward. We're increasing slowly.
The state has 2 different ESL program models. One is referred to as pull-out, which means that the students are served by their English language arts teacher only. And then we have content-based, which means all 4 of their core content teachers are ESL certified. The difference here for the numbers, once you get into the high school courses, you've got most of the students are being served through their ELA teacher, but you have all these other pathways with all the AP and CTE classes that they might take for the other content areas, and so that ELA teacher is their primary English person. The number of EBs who have achieved English proficiency over the last few years, this graph is all over the place because the state has changed the criteria for exiting every year. And so in 2020, we were able to get so many students out because the criteria was different during COVID and during at-home learning, and we were able to test kids and get them out of the program and moving on. But then this past year, other factors came into play, like if a student was absent or homesick on the day of the test, they were not able to take that test, and so that impacted their ability to exit the program. Our graduation rates, I actually have a celebration to add to this that is not on the graph. We just got the taper reports from the state, and if we look at this graph, that red line for Texas, they increased their percentage by 2.3%, so they're now at 78.2. The region for Region 11 increased by 0.8% of their graduation rate, and it was now 79.7. However, LASD, our graduation rate for our EBs in 2020 was an increase of 6%, so we are at 85.9% for the 2020. And of course, the taper reports are always a little behind, and so that's the most recent data, but that is so exciting that we were able to increase that as much as we did.
One of the things that we track for our elementary students in the dual language program and the ESL program are the iStation literacy, how they're doing in their literacy development and progress. Their data at the end of the year in 21 shows that our students had a 6-month progress of 81% in kindergarten all the way to 5th grade that had a 78%, with an overall across all grades of 84%. That is a 15% increase from last year. Also, we also monitored our students who are in pre-K versus the students who do not go to pre-K. And we have pulled the data here for 2nd grade in the spring 2021. Most of the students are at the intermediate and advanced scores in their composite scores in TELPAS, but we have to say that our pre-K are advancing very well. Also, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that I'm very proud of in the dual language program, and we have been working in collaboration with content administrators in language arts to create a program a curriculum that's bilingual, and not only in English and Spanish with a translation, but with a trans-adaptation, because there's some tics in Spanish that are different from English. So we have a side-by-side curriculum now for our teachers in elementary, in which they will have what they have to teach in English and in Spanish. And also we are creating supplemental resources to help new teachers and teachers of language learners with culturally responsive text, as well as scaffold supports in order to help them on top of the curriculum. This curriculum is fully developed by the teachers in the Learning and Teaching Department, and we have to say that Technology Department has been amazing helping us in creating materials for them. What you see on your right side in this screen is a chart on how their teachers have to make the program work whenever they have to rotate from English to Spanish and Spanish to English. On the left side and the bottom, last year we had teachers with masks and they couldn't help the kids with the phonics. So we were able to put videos and visuals for students to know what they needed to do with their mechanics, oral mechanics, in order to be able to articulate and pronounce the letters right. So that is something that's been all developed internally. Also, we have done the parent collaboratives last year, and we had, they all went virtual, and it has allowed for 120 parents on an average per parent collaborative. And we had the multicultural literacy night, which we're planning to do this year, and it has over 120 parents RSVP'd. We're very proud to say that this year secondary is joining us in this event. Also, summer programs, the newcomer immigrant summer school has sustained their enrollment after COVID. They came back and they have had 90 newcomers from 1st to 5th grade attending that summer program. For the first year, it was district-led, the Cultivating Advanced Multilingual Proficiency Camp. That's the short for camp. Everybody knows it by Spanish Camp. And we had 360 students enrolled in that program.
I'm very proud of the work that our teachers and liaisons have done on classroom resources and the curriculum that we have. We have a locally developed curriculum that is designed for beginning and intermediate EBs that are in middle school and in high school. And the way that the teachers designed it, they wanted to have, if a new teacher were to be hired into that ESL classroom, would that teacher be successful with the materials that they had in front of them? And that is what my teachers have created, and it's been fantastic. The performance tasks that we have in the gen ed classrooms have also been linguistically accommodated in partnership between the secondary liaisons and the curriculum learning facilitators and administrators. And so they have really partnered to make sure that the content, the rigor, everything that needed to be assessed in those performance tasks is still there, with all of the language scaffolds that our students need to be successful in mastering and showing mastery of that content. Our summer school programs for secondary continued to grow. We had a huge increase from the previous summer. We had 215 EBs that participated in our SOAR Academy. I know several of you were able to come out and see that again this summer, so thank you for your support in that. They actually had SOAR City, where they had to do research on what a city needs to be successful and what that city needs for a society to flourish. And they each created little blocks using math, science, social studies, and teamwork, and of course, reading, writing, listening, and speaking every day. We also had 18 students who chose to stay in the afternoon to continue on with an entire day of English and get their English 3 credit in summer school. And so that was an intensive day for all of them. We are hoping that this is going to increase again. In the past, we had over 300 kids who had enrolled for SOAR prior to COVID, and so they are planning for that again this year. And I hope that the little video doesn't start up. We're going to skip. Okay. And then looking ahead, we are, of course, hoping that all of our summer programs continue to grow. Those will be offered in person again. And then as a blended model, we do still have some students who joined us virtually for that last summer. And then, of course, continuing to build all of our teachers' skills around the curriculum, the resources, how to really integrate all of the tools in Canvas. They use that a tremendous amount in our classrooms, and so we'll be working with them on all of those fun things for the classroom. And then, as always, we are in compliance with Texas Education Code, Chapter 89, and Texas Administrative Code 19. In the implementation of our programs, we'll continue to monitor our EB's progress in literacy, English proficiency, and program participation. And with that, what questions can we answer for you?
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Ms. Cox?
Thank you. I appreciate all the great work, and the summer programs are truly amazing. It's great that we keep our kids active in the summer as well to keep learning. My question is how long does it take for a teacher to get their certification? Like, what does that process look like to get their certification? Do they do it during the school year or summer? How does that work?
So the certification program that is available, that like where you go and take the test and everything, you can actually sign up and take the test within 4 days of when you're registering. So it's possible. It's offered all year long. Multiple testing sites, and that's all offered through just the normal testing certification sites. If a teacher would like to prepare in advance, there is a program that we offer here. It's a Canvas course right now because in-person learning has been difficult, and we don't want to pull teachers from the classroom. And then there's also an online course that's offered by TEA. So if they didn't want to do hours, they wanted a different format, then that is also available to them. And then if they get however long it takes them to get through that course, they can go and take that test any day of the week. It's offered on Saturdays, it's offered over holiday breaks, and it's offered on the weekends. So it's totally open to whenever it's going to work for their schedule.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm really excited about the new bilingual curriculum that you've created. I'm sure it's a valuable resource to all of the teachers, so that's awesome. Very excited. I had one question that you probably won't be able to answer now, but I'm just curious. So I've been hearing some of the committees in Austin speaking with TEA about the new STAR questions, that they're anticipating the reading to be math and history based. Therefore, it would be more culturally responsive in things that they've already heard in the past. Have you heard those things? Do you think it would actually help our children? I know some of the questions right now are very confusing for some of our dual language students when some of the questions ask about something French doors and things that these students just don't have any understanding about. So it's not that they don't understand how to do the question, they don't understand the words and the relevance of the culturally appropriate question. So do you have any opinions about the new wording?
There is a lot that's being developed right now, and we have an appointment with Joe Cisneros. He's the director of SLAR with TEA in March, and he's going to be coming to us to share with us how the SLAR STAR is going to be looking for us.
Awesome.
With all the details.
I love that. That'd be great. If you could give a little snippet and we can hear later on how that's going.
We'll record it.
It will be recorded. If we can get a little update from the board, I would really be interested because I know that some of the issues with STAR and our bilingual students are that they just don't understand the content of the words. Thank you.
No data request. Kidding. Ms. Lasan.
Thank you so much for being here and for the presentation. And I just always think it's so fascinating, the number of languages that we have in the district. It's really interesting, been to campuses where they have on the wall, the different, different languages that they have in that campus. And it's just so neat. I think it's cool. I think, Ms. Montanez, one thing I was going to ask about, because I didn't quite catch it, was the iStation number. So you said it was 84.5% is for the total, I think, for element for pre-Ks? No, I think it was for all of elementary.
Mm-hmm.
And so you said what I didn't catch was I think you said it was 15% higher than last year. Is that right?
Oh, the 15% higher than last year. I am so sorry. But when higher, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Is this one? Is the iStation score? The overall you see there last year was at 29 students that did not show any progress. Now we have 15% students that are not showing the progress. So we had a very decreased number of students that are not progressing. Most of them are progressing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Sells?
Yes, can you just talk about the number of ESL certified teachers in the district?
Sure. I think
And can you tell me, how many we've had, last year or the year before?
Of
you
course.
have?
It's right here. It's in here. Oh, the slide disappeared. I'm sorry, that slide disappeared. It was there.
Okay.
But that's okay. We had a reduction of 47% of number of teachers in the waiver from last year. This year we had much less teachers, and we had an increase of teachers being bilingually certified, 18% increased from last year.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Rosnick?
As I say every year, it's one of my favorite presentations every year because I think it really shows what focused learning looks like. I think it shows what adhering to the TEKS in our curriculum that we are so fortunate that we get to write looks like. I'm outrageously impressed with the graduation rate. You should be very proud of yourselves. I will ask a question if this had anything to do with it. How long have we been doing the sheltered English 3?
I believe we've offered that in the summer for original credit for the last 3 years, possibly 4. And there are criteria such as the student has to be already have completed ESOL 1 and be on track to age out before they would normally graduate. And so there are some things that we put in place to really help capture some of those kids and give them that opportunity.
So I'll ask you, do you think that helped increase the graduation rate? When I look at those years in the fact that we were proactive in doing that because it's a requirement to graduate, do you think that forethought, give yourselves some credit here, is what helped that graduation rate to increase?
I think that it's a combination of that. It's a combination of, all the other courses that we've been able to open up as sheltered sections across the district to give more students everywhere, not just the students that are, going to age out before, they graduate. And we just have a really amazing teachers that make this happen and hunt down kids and make sure that they get what they need. the liaisons and the aides and everybody else. It's a team effort. So I'm not going to say that I could say definitively that it's because of one class that we offer in the summer, but I think that it has definitely been something that some of our students, that might have been the only class they really had left, or it might be that one extra credit they needed in order to have all the credits they needed to graduate. But that's worth looking into and see which of the kids went through that graduated that may not have. Thank you for bringing that up.
I would say, Ms. Prosnick, just to add on to that, if I could, is I think the system of support that you all have supported between the liaisons, the language acquisition specialist, the Ms. Montanez, Ms. Emery that stand before you that represent, I think all of those things combined together over the years, we've built what is really a really robust bilingual ESL program, and I could not be more proud of the work that they've done these last several years.
Thank you for your presentation. I would just note that, I think people often forget that with the number of language spoken in our district, but especially the high number of Spanish speakers, in the early years, these are not kids that are given much choice in school options. They're not allowed into other public school options. They're not allowed into private school options, and so we take them and we progress them along the spectrum of graduation. While people recycle old talking points, unless you go to a campus like LHS when Mr. Cos was there or Mr. Plunkett and you see a newcomers class where kids are speaking French or Burmese or multiple languages where they don't know any English, and you see how these classes come together along with the other things that you've done to move them along the spectrum, I think it's just worth noting that what we're providing is a very sophisticated option and a meaningful option to kids who otherwise wouldn't have an option other than what they get here. So appreciate your work on that. Thank you very much. Dr. Rapp, District Improvement Plan.
All right, I have a brief presentation for you all this evening just to highlight some things in the district improvement plan. I do appreciate so very much the thorough nature with which I know you all look at this. It means a great deal because so many people are working to move the district strategies forward. Just a quick reminder about the DIP. The superintendent district goals were embedded this year. The goals are formatted around our 4 cornerstones. And our update this evening will highlight progress specifically noted in the document on the superintendent district goals. Under Cornerstone 1, student learning, we have made progress at the time of the November update, which is what you all are seeing. There were the goals 2 literacy check-ins per campus. We've got 37 of 39, and I'm sure by now all 39 have scheduled their first check-in. We've made progress, as Dr. Fitzhugh reported, on the board goals in those important areas, and we provided that November student learning update as well in the DIP update document. Additionally, with student learning, our superintendent district goals talked about providing student choice through expanded virtual learning. We know we had to adjust this when virtual learning was not funded, and you all heard from Dr. McDaniel about the great work related to virtual learning for students with House Bill 4545. We are on track with our VLA course expansion. We've got 8 new courses that are ready to launch this spring. And then, of course, you've heard that we've made significant completion of our summer programs and intervention goal, and even our summer programs they just referenced for bilingual ESL are part of that, and tracking the progress of those students is forthcoming. Under student experience, specifically our goals here were around readiness indicators in the dashboard. Dr. Fitzhugh provided an update in November regarding what that data was showing. She'll be providing an update in January on the early warning indicators that are part of that superintendent district goal. Our counselor touch points, we're using Skyward to track that data. We are on track to provide you an annual report. That's been a goal now, is that we come to you annually to report on the work of the counselors as a result of the program evaluation from last year. Under resource stewardship, we are proud to leverage that 3-year tiered support for recruiting and retaining our first-year teachers. Dr. Miller works closely with our HR leadership and team to support our first-year teachers. We have 155 receiving one-on-one customized support. She's really, Dr. Miller, done a great job building that model of support for our first-year teachers. Under community engagement, we're in cohort 3 of our restorative practices implementation. We've got 61 total campuses trained at this time. Our other goal was during professional learning at the start of this school year to implement a common learning experience focused on student health and well-being, as we knew students were coming back to school from many of them being at home due to COVID. And that was completed when all the teachers completed summer professional learning. So we've provided our update about the DIP to you this month. We'll bring another one in February and your last one in June. Dr. Fitzhugh will be back before you in January, February, and June. And that will be all of our updates related to this work.
I called Dr. App earlier and said, can we get an average of 7 to 10 minutes total? I think she just helped the average. So thank you very much on that. Do we have any questions? This is an information item. All right, great. Thank you. Mr. Young, this is my most exciting report of the month.
You got to get
Financial
out more.
reports.
This report is as of the end of October, so we're just a couple of months into the new fiscal year. If you'd look at page number 237 in your board book, the second column from the right, through October, we've received revenue of only $19 million, and this is normal for a high property wealthy school district or a recapture district. Most of our money comes in December, January, February with property tax, but we still have payroll to take care of and vendors to pay, so we spent $82 million against revenue of 19 for a deficit of $63 million. This illustrates the need for school districts to have fund balance. We're essentially spending fund balance right now through September, through Christmas. Then we put money back into fund balance as we move into the start of the new calendar year. School nutrition had revenue of $7.4 million. All of that is federal money. We're on that program where we feed everybody every month, and we're being reimbursed by the federal government. Then our expenditures were $3.2 million, so we have a $4 million surplus here. We have enough of a surplus in the food service fund that we have to provide the state of Texas with a spending plan, and that allows us to purchase ovens and warmers and coolers and freezers, and it allows us to refresh the equipment, old ones out, new ones in. There's not much happening, obviously, in the debt service fund until we get our money in and start making our payments next year. Then if you'll turn to page 244, you'll see that we still have a very modest return on investment on our idle cash, less than 1%. That concludes the monthly financial report, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Youngs. Do I have any questions? Okay. Thank you. Dr. Rapp, academic calendar 2022-23.
Yes, Dr. Miller is going to come provide an update about where we are and next steps, and so I'll turn it over to her.
All right, good evening. So we have some exciting calendar options for next year that the committee constructed for us to look at. I took your discussion item information and just put on slides so it's easy talking points, but it's the same information that you have. So we had some great discussions in the calendar committee, sorting through all the input from all the different groups, and we narrowed down to 2 options to consider. We had great conversations about how many student days can we get in, and a big topic that we really talked about was also how can we address the need of teachers to collaborate together. You know, that's an expectation. That's something that we have to do as a profession and as professionals to prepare, but we're doing that during our conference time, after school, before school, in the evening, and so we really wanted to consider how might we embed that in the calendar as well. So we came up with, they're called PLC time, that we've never had this in our calendar before. We've always had professional learning days. The difference between PLC time was we wanted to designate an amount of time during the school day in the school year where all the teachers did was collaborate together. So and we talked to administrators, said y'all would not be designing learning, but this is time for teams to get together, for departments to get together, to look at data, to start planning ahead, those kind of things that we usually require them to do during their conference time or before or after school. We talked a lot about what number that would be. We had parent input. Our elementary parents were really interested in, okay, what do you think about this? So we landed on 3, intentionally more in the fall, because that's when the new data is coming in, that kind of stuff to process and plan for based on your specific students you have. And we put them where there was a holiday. Elementary said that would be easier for them to plan. And we also have talked with ESD and Kelly Updike about how similar to what we did with COVID, for elementary, if you're not in ESD, is there a way we could provide that option in case you need it? So there's 3 additional half days that the PLC time would allot for. We also, I don't think I put it on there, but also at the end of each 9 weeks is work time. So sometimes we embed professional learning time on those days. This would be work time at the end of each 9 weeks so that you could have conferences, you can grade papers, you can submit your grades, all that stuff. So we would not have professional learning during those times. So the 2 calendar options we're proposing both start on a Wednesday. A lot of the things that we had as preferences, we were able to build into that. They both have 500 and maybe 70 minutes, a little over an extra day embedded into that. And then the differences are what I believe Ms. Hassett was kind of talking to us about the way that the holiday falls in winter break. Christmas is on a Sunday. So we had great conversation about, do you want a week before or do you want a week after? And all of our input was split really like 49 and 51, that kind of thing. So we're like, well, let's just let the community decide which one they want. There is a correction on the samples that I gave y'all, the count. So the 9 weeks was correct, but the semester was not on y'all's things, but it is correct up here. So if you look at option 1, the semesters are a little different, or option 2, there's 1 day difference in the semester. The committee did want the same length of time for winter break. They wanted to give staff and kids as much time as possible, so it's 12 staff days and 13 student days, whatever break you get. So that if y'all are good with these options, then we would sit that out for the community to vote starting this week and going through when we come back from winter break, and this is kind of the same time frame we did last year.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Dr. Bonner?
Just a couple quick questions, Shauna. Firstly, thank you for shepherding this process. We know it's a lot of fun and just a positive event for you. The number of days, thank you for pointing out that difference there and that correction. Have you gotten any feedback on calendar B, I believe it was, where the semesters are even relative to end-of-year course testing, SAT, ACT, all that sort of stuff that we do at the end of the school year? Have you gotten any feedback on that?
Yes, Sarah, we talked a little bit about testing.
Everybody okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
even
didn't
though
have anything.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And then I'll leave my other question to my colleagues because I know they're going to ask it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this PLC time, will it be designed PLC time? For example, will there be some vertical PLC time, or is this just going to be grade level, department level? And how does that fit into traditional professional learning that we've built in?
So we have a PLC framework that we use here in Lewisville. So we have done training for several years. We have campuses that go to Solution Tree and have training. We build teacher leader capacity and how to facilitate PLCs. So PLCs are not different. But often right now, a campus might get half days, not this year because of subs and COVID, but in the past, they would get half day subs and you would go in for 3 hours and you would decipher data and do all that stuff and start planning and that kind of thing. Sometimes they build extra time, like during your conference, there's a little time before, a little time after, that kind of thing. So the process of PLCs is not different, but giving them time blocked out is. Right now, each campus has to find time to do that, which has been really challenging. So, and we're hoping that so right now, you're doing that during your conference time, and you might have an extended conference time. Well, if we had this in place, those 2 weeks leading up to that, hopefully your conference time is used for things that you need because you know you have designated time for that. We did talk to administrators on the committee about my department providing supports on using our framework and what could that time be designed for, but each campus, they're doing PLC right now. So some of them are more virtual or vertical, some of them are grade level, so it's all targeted on the data that they need for their campus.
I think from a parent standpoint and going to grandma's, I love the 12 days, but from somebody who's in charge of student success, I'm concerned about the 12 days. Even though a semester ends, I think students after 12 days get out of the habit of learning, and I don't know if 2 days makes a difference more than 10 days, but I think we're probably going to hear some of that. I know that there was a neighboring district that is doing that this year, and there was some concern from parents and others. Can you just address that that period of time versus from the input you had from those you talked to, but then also from a learning standpoint?
So there is the same amount of student learning days in the calendar. So if we were to, so we can't extend, if you extend the student days, so if you come back early, like on a Wednesday, and you add 2 days back in, then you have to knock off the 2 days somewhere else because you can't add to the teacher day. Does that make sense? So when you lay it all out, having those additional breaks in there, that was the best way that it laid out. Does that make sense?
Appreciate, and I understand the 177 days and the contracts and all that. It just gives me angst. And so I hope that our kids who don't have books at home, that we can partner with people at the end of the school, at that second 9 weeks, to send books home, to read, to do whatever that just takes their mind from just all break to maybe some learning during that time. And that's just my only angst. I know my own kids.
We traditionally have around a 12-day break, and that's what we have for this year. It's just the second one looks different because it's later. You're going earlier and it falls later.
Yeah, I was just counting. It looks like we have 13 because one of them is teach work day. Okay, so I have a question about the PLC time. I am actually fine with building that into the calendar, no problem. But one problem, and I've always said this, maybe it's just me, as a parent, I can't stand half days. They make me crazy. So are we now looking at a total of like 7 half days? Because we're still going to get them at the end of the semesters?
I think we have 6. Besides 7 the last day of school.
Who counts the last day of school, right? But,
You're done.
I mean, come on.
So you did.
Anyway.
So, yes, there's 6.
There's 6. Okay. So so what was the feedback from the group? Am I the only one out there that can't stand half days, or, what did they say about that?
Well, they actually thought that kids would like more days.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
but the parents even said, like, we could see more. There are neighboring districts they've just approved their calendar for way more than 6 half days.
Okay.
There's some that have been 18 half days for next year. But our parents were like, we understand the need, and honestly, a whole day of PLC time is not as beneficial as a half day of PLC PLC
Okay.
time. Like,
Thank
you
you,
can
'cause-
structure a half day and be really intentional. When you get to a full day, it's more like, okay, we've talked a lot, we've clapped, you know. So half day is really beneficial, and we still wanted to see kids if we could. So.
Okay, that would have been my next question, as opposed to why don't we just do a whole day? But, okay, you're the expert, and so if you say half day, then, okay, I'll just have to get my mind around that. Thank you.
One thing I would add real quickly to that too, Shauna, that came up, I think, with you and Ms. Smith was as you start to recruit teachers for the next school year, more teachers are shopping around people's calendars. And what does the embedded work time look like for teachers? That's a newer concept, but how are districts taking care of teachers and giving them some embedded work time? So we've definitely not gone the path, obviously, of a huge number of half days, but some to show that we're taking that into account.
I'm also a little bit nervous about the half days just because some of our parents just can't afford to take time off, or it could cause problems. And so I'm asking y'all to try to gauge that and evaluate if the additional days might be problematic for parents and maybe responses. And so kind of tracking how our parents are responding to the half days to see if it's a burden on them. That'd be great. I do love the balanced calendar. I really appreciate that very much, so thank you so much. I really do. And then I know Ms. Brim always does a great job of putting the information out to parents. I love the visual of the December time frame in particular, and maybe could we use that on our parent communication going out?
Yeah, we are collaborating with Dr. Miller on that. I know we already have the survey and everything put together, so we can take a look at that and make sure that that's highlighted.
The visual is really easy to read, and I like it. Thank you so much.
I'm actually very excited about the PLC time. I get it as a parent. It is hard to take off, but I don't honestly know how teachers are doing it with their planning session, because that is their time for parents to come in and have conference time, and I don't know how they're getting it, and they need time to collaborate and get this done. My question is going to be, how long will, obviously, Ms. Brim, this will be posted on communications and website and all that, so what is the time frame for parents or people to be able to?
So it will go up this Wednesday, and so we'll have it up until the 4th. And then a reminder will go out in the December, I think, 30th. We'll do a reminder out as well.
Yes, I just wanted to say I really appreciate what you're trying to do and what we're trying to do. As we move around the district recently to talk to teachers about superintendent search or whatever, you know, there's a concept, I think, out there that we're somewhat trying to get back to normal, where our teachers don't feel that way. It's not normal. And with what we see with mental health issues and what we see with burnout and what we're seeing with shortages, I think that anything that we can do to give them more time to plan and work together is going to increase morale. It's going to make them feel better and give them more time in the district to work on what they need to. So I think that's a big step. So thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Patterson. Great point. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I punted and then it didn't get picked up. Was there any discussion about, can you go back one slide on option B? I'm concerned about attendance on 19, 20, and 21. I know the last time we did this, it was abysmal. So did you guys have that discussion?
Yes, well, that will be secondary exams, elementary parties.
So you built in an incentivizer.
Exams and parties,
okay.
And they're going to want to go, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Thanksgiving that we did that before, and there wasn't that motivation. So thank you. Okay.
We talked about it.
At the risk of Mr. Patterson saying to me, hold on, I'm going to talk to you about that later. The question is, District of Innovation decisions in the event, wink, wink, that we do not become a District of Innovation, that won't affect next year's calendar. That would be the following calendar?
No, it would affect next year's. We actually have the same calendars drafted, 2 of them drafted. That would be what district, if we needed to go District of Innovation. So it would just I don't think I have a full calendar up here to show you, but it would just take your start date and really it moves it to almost the end date because you have to start later on. So.
All right, thank you, Shauna.
Yeah.
Okay, our last item is the consideration and approval of the annual comprehensive financial report, ACFR, formerly the CAFR. Mr. Youngs?
Good evening, Board.
Here's our binder,
Yes.
by the way.
You also have a piece of paper that looks like this that I'll start with.
Okay, thank
But
you.
we're really going to start with Selena. If you would come to the podium. Before we begin, I just wanted to express appreciation for Selena and her team who did the audit, but also our accounting people, our budget people, our payroll people, our purchasing people that perform so well that we end up with a year-end audit the way this one looks. So, Selena, if you'd like to start, please.
Thank you, Mr. Youngs, President Miller, members of the board, and Superintendent Patterson. I'm pleased to present the results of the 2021 audit. This includes both the financial statement and federal single audit. We are required to issue an opinion on your financial statements, and there are 3 types of opinions that any entity can earn, and they worsen as they move from right to left. Of course, every entity wants to earn an unmodified opinion, and I use the word earned because it truly is earned by your management team. You know, our process started in April, May with the risk assessment, not just over the normal critical areas such as payroll, HR, accounts payable, but we also had to assess all of the federal funding that was spent this year and will continue to be spent in the next couple of years or even 3 years. With that, we identified key controls, tested those key controls over the critical areas, and then once the district closed its books after 8/31/2021, we came back and performed our substantive testing, which includes corroborating, confirming, vouching, and performing analytical procedures, all to ensure that we get sufficient audit evidence to issue our opinion. These are the areas that we focus on. The first 5 are critical, with information technology feeding the first 4, with HR payroll being very significant because just in the general fund you spent 75% of the expenditures go towards payroll cost, and then you have procurement and accounts payable as well. We also look at attendance changing, everything that goes into the financial close and reporting process, and then any significant revenues. And of course, we look at the controls over every major federal grant that we select for testing. We are issuing an unmodified opinion, so we didn't have any internal control findings, no deficiencies or material weaknesses, nor any compliance issues related to state compliance items in accordance with government auditing standards. As I mentioned earlier, we did have to perform a federal single audit, and you do receive that every year. This year, you spent $62.2 million in federal grants that were subject to our review, but we did select the following as major programs: the Coronavirus Relief Fund, the Child Nutrition Cluster, the Child and Adult Care Food Program, which is basically the same under the Child Nutrition Cluster for accounting purposes. It operates a little bit different. Both come from the Texas Department of Agriculture. And then you had your ESSER 1, 2, and 3 grants. ESSER 1 was just a small portion finally expended in 2021, with the majority of it, if not all, spent in 2020. ESSER 2, we'll get into that here a bit, but as you're aware, part of your ESSER 2 grant was supplanted for state aid at the state level. And then ESSER 3 is all supplemental, and only a little less than $1 million was spent this year. We are issuing an unmodified opinion, no internal control findings or compliance issues. I will say that there were many moving parts, a lot of reclassification, guidance coming out, throughout the entire summer, even into the fall, the rules changing. So kudos again to your management for staying abreast with all the changes and accounting for this. So it was a team effort having to get this correct so that at the end it's all reported to TEA and the federal government properly. When we start diving into your general fund, we'll see that your total revenues totaled $519 million, which is an increase of $18.1 million from fiscal year 2020. Property taxes do make up 82% at $425.5 million, state aid at $43.2 million. Other state revenue, which is your on behalf, it's not a cash item, but you are required to recognize the on behalf payments made at the state level for the employees participating in TRS and TRS Care. And then federal funding was $16.4 million or 3.2%. $8 million of that $16 million is the School Health and Related Services, or SHARS program, and then the rest are indirect cost and other, some of the ESSER and also coronavirus relief funding as well. And then your local funding at $7.5 million or 1.4%. If we compare your revenue from last year to this year just by type, you will see that your property taxes did increase, and that even though your maintenance and operations rate decreased slightly, the values increased, which still generated more property taxes. But we will see here that with the inverse relationship between state aid and property taxes, you don't get to keep the property taxes that you're able to levy. And with the state aid, it did increase, but it wasn't in the foundation area. That's the one that's mainly affected by that inverse relationship, but your per capita did increase while your foundation state aid decreased. Again, your federal funds went from $9 million to $16.4 million. Your other state revenue stayed pretty consistent, and then your other local revenue decreased down to 7.5, as we discussed. So this is where we can actually see how you spend your money. 57% is instruction and related services at $303.3 million. But you'll see that this year your recapture was $50.7 million. Last year it was only $14 million, and that made up about 3% or 2%. And this year, that's making up 10%. So while your expenditures did increase by $23 million, basically recapture was the bulk of that. Again, 75% of the expenditures go towards payroll, but still that recapture makes up a huge portion of it. And again, that's the property taxes that you levied that has to be returned to the state to be reallocated to other districts. For fiscal year 2021, and that's nothing that I'll say that you have control over. That's part of the state formulas for state aid, and it's the way that the system works. And so, unfortunately, you have to account for it as such. Your actual revenues, when we compare it to your budgeted items, you were under budget by $15.2 million when we look at revenues. Your actual expenditures, again, $529.7 million, were under budget by $19.8 million. Your expenditures and other resources did exceed revenues by $10.5 million. Your collection rate continues to be strong at 99.4%. And your ending fund balance totaled $170.6 million. You have unassigned at $37 million, assigned at $132.4 million. And as a reminder, you have a policy that you do set aside 3 months of your annual operating expenditures in assigned fund balance. And TEA does look at that in conjunction with your unassigned fund balance. So the optimal fund balance, if you continue to spend every year at the $529 million expenditure level, $132 million would be optimal. Currently, if you combined both the assigned and unassigned at $170.2 million, that equates to $3.9 million. Again, if you continue to spend at the same expenditure level, the danger zone or 1 month for Lewisville ISD would be $44 million. And so that would be a red flag if your fund balance ever dipped down that low. And again, TEA looks at both of these two for first rating purposes. We also need to look at the child nutrition and debt service funds because you do adopt a budget on an annual basis. Your actual revenues of $21.1 million were less than budgeted by $4.1, Your actual expenditures came in at 19.3, less than your revenues, and they were also under budget by 5.9 million. Your fund balance did increase by $1.8 million, so your ending fund balance at $7.4 million. And now Mr. Youngs had mentioned a spending plan for the Child Nutrition Department, so unlike the general fund, where you need to have 3 months or more, the Texas Department of Agriculture says no more than 3 months, and so anytime you exceed that, you have to have a plan to spend it down. So it's the opposite from the general fund. On the debt service fund, actual revenues were $169.2 million. Again, this is your interest, your debt service or interest in sinking tax rate that you levy for your principal and interest payments on an annual basis. That did exceed your budgeted amounts by $2.6 million, and your actual expenditures of $155.3 million were under budget by $11.3 million. The fund balance increased by $14.5 million, and your ending fund balance was $62.4 million. Interest payments due and paid August 2021 were $36 million. For government-wide financial statements, so we just looked at the fund financial statements and just the general fund, but if we were to take all of the assets and liabilities and equate this to the net worth of Lewisville ISD, we'd see that the net position or net worth is $76.2 million. And how we got here, your total assets were $2 billion with cash and investments at a little under $500 million, and then capital assets, net of its depreciation, at $1.45 billion. You still have your deferred outflows for pension and OPEB of $73 million, and then your total liabilities and deferred inflows were at $1.9 billion. Bonds payable, net of the premiums, are $1.46 billion, and then the net pension and net OPEB liabilities were $120 and $140 million respectively, and then the associated deferred inflows of resources. Again, it's important to note that those two liabilities, net pension and net OPEB liabilities, do not represent a cash liability that you'll have to write a check for anytime soon. That's only in the case that TRS Care were to fail. You will continue to pay into TRS and TRS Care at those statutorily determined rates on an annual basis, and even these liabilities are not determined by your management. They're actuarially determined at the state level for TRS, and then your proportionate share is allocated to you based on your contributions compared to the contributions of all other participants within TRS. And so that's how we arrive to these liabilities. Required communications, you did have 2 new standards, GASB Statement Number 84 for fiduciary activities, and then GASB Number 98, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, and that's where we saw the name change, where we no longer use the acronym CAFR. Future GASB implementation next year is the GASB 87 for leases, and then the year after that is subscription-based. What's going to happen there is we're going to bring on the right to use, say, copiers, for example. Just as an example, we have to bring in the right to use asset as well as the liability, whereas in the past, even if there were operating leases, you would just disclose it in the notes and the commitments. So this is a change, and it'll affect your subscription-based IT arrangements. So any student software, et cetera, your management team will have to evaluate that. So those are 2 big pronouncements that are going to affect Lewisville ISD significantly, and all governments throughout the United States. Counting estimates, we described those earlier with state aid, allowance for uncollectible taxes, and then the net OPEB and pension liabilities. We believe that these estimates are in line with industry standards, and we were able to verify the liabilities based on what the state provides us for the pension and liabilities. Again, we had no disagreements with your management, nor did we have to pass on any misstatements or correct any material misstatements. The last piece of evidence that we received from your team was the management rep letter, and we don't believe that your team consulted with any other accountants in effect for opinion shopping. Had they done so, we would be required to report that to you here tonight. And then anytime we provide advice or guidance, especially in the years of COVID with ESSER funding, our responses are not a condition of our retention as your auditors. Any questions for me?
This is maybe more of a functional kind of question. I'm curious how you choose which major functions to audit.
Major functions or funds?
Funds, the major funds.
Oh, that's a great question. So there's Type A and Type B programs, and that is a factor of your total schedule of expenditures of federal awards, and it's 3% of that amount. Anything that's at 3% or above that amount, that's considered a Type A program. And those are the big programs that have to be audited every third year. Typically, for every school district, it's going to be your IDEA B, Title I, Child Nutrition. And then, of course, unfortunately, ESSER will be audited probably next year and the year after that as it continues to be large. But the Office of Management and Budget has also designated it as higher risk. So auditors are required to audit that program regardless of that rotation that I just described. So even though we tested it this year, we'll have to test it again next year because it has been designated as high risk. So those determinations or assessments at the federal level have to be considered by us as well.
Wanted to thank staff for all their amazing work because you really do an amazing job of keeping us financially sound. But then I did have one question. Actually, I want to say it was a great presentation, as always. I loved how you break down just every part of the audit that you're doing as well as the funding that we're receiving. I just wanted to reiterate that based on the TEA and the legislature's school funding formula, that we receive 8.3% of our funding from the state based on their formula. And the rest we have to rely mainly on property taxes based on their formula. So they give us $43 million in funding, and then we have to turn around and send them $50 million in recapture. So there's a wonkiness there to the particular funding.
Correct.
So if anybody has questions about property taxes, we always need to make sure we're talking to Austin about all that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you for that presentation. That was, the last 2 years, Mr. Youngs, have been some of the best that those of us who have been around for 8 or 9 years have seen. And appreciate the way you approached the presentation. One of the things I would note is, as you referred to the fund balances and some of the requirements, just for the public to understand, the legislature wants our fund balance. They think they deserve it. And so there will be a battleground over the next 2 years to keep those fund balances and get adequate funding. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, but great presentation.
Yes, President Miller. So I think it's important to have a healthy fund balance regardless of what the state plans to do with it. But we don't know when you have tornadoes here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, when COVID hits again. And also it's important to know, I included in the note disclosures a subsequent event that TEA will not be holding you harmless for the reductions in ADA. And so with that, you're on your own. You will not be held harmless like you were this year, even though they'd still used your ESSER 2 funding. But again, that hold harmless provision is not in existence for fiscal year 22, so you have to make do with your own operations and your fund balance.
Thank you very much. Would someone like to make a motion?
If you'll just hang on a minute.
I'm sorry, Mr. Youngs.
Thank you,
I was
Selena.
so excited to get finished with this that I apologize.
We're just not quite done yet. Thank you, Selena and her team very much. Board members, if you'd find this document, I just want to spend a minute and make clear ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3, and the Coronavirus Relief Fund, and how those dollars flow into the district. And you'll notice last year in 2020 and in this year in 2021, ESSER 1 and ESSER 2 were taken by the state of Texas and put into the funding formulas. So we got no benefit from ESSER 1, no benefit from ESSER 2. ESSER 3, however, helps a great deal. So the grant amount is $25 million. We've spent a little bit this year. You'll notice out to the far right, balance for future fiscal years, $24 million. That can help us in the next 2 years. Is that making that clear to everybody? All right. Now let's go to the audit. It's 150 pages long, but I'm going to only touch on 10 pages, just like a late night television host used to do. So if you turn to tab number 1, this is the school district's balance sheet, and it lists assets, liabilities. The general fund is where our M&O taxes come into. The debt service fund is our INS tax. The capital projects fund is our bond money getting spent from 2017. Federal funds is title money, IDEA. And then non-major governmental funds out to the right is Perkins and food service. You'll notice on line 1,000 we have assets of $232 million. Then line 2,000 we have $56 million in liabilities. And again, so if you go down to fund balance, line 3480, that's the fund balance in the debt service fund. And then if you go down to line 3590, minimum fund balance policy, that's the board guidance we've received to have 25% of expenditures in fund balance. That's the $132 million. Line 3600 is unassigned. That's our surplus that's in the general fund balance. And so assets of $232 million. Total liabilities in fund balance is $232 million, so the balance sheet does in fact balance. So then I'd like to draw your attention to tab number 2, and this is the income statement for the school district. There are 3 kinds of revenue that flow into school districts: local, which is your M&O tax; state, we get a little bit of state money; federal. And you'll notice under the general fund, 83% of our money, as Celine has indicated, comes locally from our property values and the levy from our tax rate. State money has gone down every year, down to $69 million. That's 13% of our revenue, pardon me. And then line 5900, federal money, we get some impact aid money, SHARS money. Functions 11, 12, and 13, as we spend those revenues, are spent in the classroom. So 11, 12, and 13, if you put those 3 together, it's 57% of our spending that is spent in the classroom. And then if you add line 23 to it, which is school leadership, that's principals, assistant principals, their clerical support, that's another 6%. Line 31 is the guidance counseling, $24 million, that's another 5%. So total, we have 68% of our spending on campus. You'll notice line 34 is student transportation. This is only $13 million. It was $40 million last year because of our buying the bus fleet last year. Line 36 is fine arts and athletics. Total there is $9.9 million, which represents 2% of our total spending. Line 41 is general administration, $11 million. That also is 2% of our total spending. Then line 71, 72, you can see that goes over to the next column over. That's principal and interest on our debt. It's $155 million. 2 years ago, that was $188 million. So we're $30 million lower on debt service because we've paid off principal, restructured our debt down to lower interest rates. Line number 91, purchase of water, I'll translate that, it's recapture. It's $50 million. It was 15 a year ago. Line 99 is the money we send to the tax assessor and to the appraisal district. Then if you go down to line 1200, that's the third line from the bottom. In the general fund, it shows we took $10 million out of fund balance. I want to remind the board and the public that the year before, we put $16 million into fund balance, which is why we felt comfortable adopting a budget of -12. We came in at a -10. So the fund balance at the end of the year is $181 million, $38 million more than required by board policy. You'll notice fund balance in the debt service fund, the second column over. We have a $46 million surplus there, and we'll use a good amount of that next summer when we do a refunding, and we'll be able to pay off principal early. And then the capital projects fund, that fund balance just goes down as we continue to spend the 2017 bond money. Then in the upper right-hand corner over on page 2, you'll notice total revenue in the Lewisville School District is $750 million. So we are all part of a $750 million business. That is big money. And so I brought along an example of big money. So we spend big money. So if you go to tab number 3, this quickly compares the general fund to budget. The column on the most left, the original, that's the board-approved budget in August of 20. You notice we forecasted revenue of $530 million. Then if you go over to the second column from the right, that's the actual audited number. We came in at $518. So we were $12 million light on revenue, largely attributable to property tax that wasn't paid. I've already gone through these expenditures there. If you go down the line, 6030, we have the total expenditures. We budgeted $543 million. We spent $529. The variances out to the right are not, they don't mean anything because the TEA makes them all be positive numbers. So in a normal business, the variance analysis out to the right actually makes some sense. Not so in school accounting in Texas. If you turn to tab 4, I'm just going to touch on a few of these schedules that might be of interest to you. Column number 1 on page 88, you can see going from top to bottom, that's a history of our M&O tax rate. You'll notice in 20, it went down from 104 to 97 cents. The next year, last year, it went down to 96.64 cents. Now it is 92 cents. So that M&O tax in the last 3 years has been coming down. The next column over 2 is the INS rate. If you remember, we told the voters when we passed the 2017 bond election that the INS rate might get into the low to mid 40s. It never got over 38 cents. Column 3 is interesting. That's our property values in the Lewisville School District, nearly doubling in the last 10 years, which explains why we are a property wealthy recapture school district. And that's one of the 2 levers that makes us property wealthy is those increasing values, but our enrollment is flat. If you'll turn to page 5, or excuse me, tab 5, page 9091, food service, we bought in $21 million, we spent 19 for a surplus of 1.8. So as mentioned earlier, we have a surplus in the food service that will allow us to replace a lot of our aging equipment. On page 91, we have the debt service fund. We brought in $169 million. We spent $155. So we have a surplus there of $14 million last year and an overall fund balance there of $62 million. So we'll be able to spend a good portion of that next summer again when we do the refunding I mentioned. Tab number 7 on page 106. This is a breakdown of our property values, but I'd like to draw your attention to the residential column on the far left. 83% of our property wealth is in residential. That is very helpful to bond underwriters and rating agencies. They like that number because it's a stable tax base. It's not all one employer, for instance. We are 2% lots, tracts, and acreage, and finally, commercial and industrial is about 20%. Then, if you'll turn to tab number 8, page 110, these are our largest taxpayers. And you can see we're comparing 2021 to 2012, about 9 years ago. There's only one taxpayer that is in both columns, and that's Encore. All the other top taxpayers are new in the last 9 years. So at the very top, you have LMG Ventures. If you want to take your pencil right beside that, that is Grandscape. Next is Toyota. BMF, Roman numeral 4, are some apartments. Encore, you can see previously TXU. TXFM is Nebraska Furniture Mart. And the rest of them you can see. Now, the good thing, if you go over to the third column over, in 2021, the percentage of total taxable value in these top 10 taxpayers is 3%. Underwriters, rating agencies like that to be a low number. They like it to be under 10. We're at 3, so that's terrific. That means there's no big one employer or taxpayer that if they left would create issues for the school district. Then tab 9. This is a summary of the Lewisville's capacity to pay its debt. The fourth column from the right is a ratio of net bonded debt to taxable assessed value. We're less than 10%. We're at 3.16%. The state wants us to be lower than 10. We're at 3%. So this allows us to feel comfortable with our debt circumstances, and it measures our capacity to issue and service our debt. Lastly, tab number 10, if you look at page 125, the total employees at the bottom of 2017 is about 6,300. If you go over to 2021, the total employees is about 6,300. So you would think with slightly declining enrollment that we'd have fewer employees, particularly fewer teachers. Our our Spanish-speaking students and our special ed issues, they create that need for additional teachers. So even though our enrollment might be down a little bit, our total employees is not. It's flat. So with that said, I'll be happy to entertain questions on any of those 10 pages.
Any questions? Mr. Youngs, when will this be posted on the website?
This week.
This week? Great. Thank you very much again for a great report.
So, it is the recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended August 31st, 2021.
Do I have a motion? Mr. Prosnick?
I move that the board approve the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended August 31st, 2021, as recommended by administration.
Ms. Hassett, second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, with that said, as we adjourn the meeting, reminder of a couple things. One is we do have some additional community meetings. One is on the 13th at, well, that's today, actually. Tomorrow is at Marcus High School in the library. We have a staff opportunity at 4 o'clock, a community opportunity at 6. Hebron 9th grade campus lecture hall, same schedule. And the Colony High School on the 15th, same schedule. The opportunity to provide input on the survey is via the survey is on our website, and we did put a lot of thought and consideration into the timing of this. Our opportunity for applications closes on January 10th, so we're moving quickly to make a decision on this. With that said, Merry Christmas to all of our staff. We'll see you on January 10th, and Merry Christmas to our families. With that said, if there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 9:33 p.m.